African Development Bank and federal government begin $538 million agro-industrial project. Nigeria can become global economic growth driver, says World Bank. Shettima urges board to tackle Nigeria's electricity grid challenges. And on tariff war, U.S. slams Nigeria over import ban on 25 items. Plus, Hong Kong stocks lead sell-off in Asia-Pacific markets as trade war worries feel risk of sentiments. The program is Business Express, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Musa Abubakar, your guide. Let's bring you up to speed with business development. The World Bank Country Director for Nigeria, Dr. Ndiame Diop, says with the expected growth of Nigeria's working population hitting about 100 million in the next 25 years, the rapid increase presents a unique opportunity for the country to become a major driver of economic growth. Diop said the growth will surpass Africa and transcend globally, considering the aging population in East Asia and Europe. However, realizing the potentials, he said, hinges on Nigeria's ability to generate millions of additional productive and formal employment opportunities for its increasing educated and tech-savvy young people. Now, the U.S. government has faulted Nigeria's import ban on 25 items, saying the restrictions are limiting market access for American exporters. This comes barely a week after President Donald Trump announced sweeping tariffs on goods entering the U.S., with Nigeria getting 14%. In a post on X, a U.S. trade representative highlighted what it described as unfair trade practices faced by American exporters. The import ban on 25 different product categories impacts U.S. exporters, particularly in agriculture, pharmaceuticals, beverages, and consumer goods. The restrictions on items like beef, pork, poultry, fruit, juices, medicaments, and spirits limit U.S. market access and reduce export opportunities. And energy oil prices fell for a fifth day to their lowest since February 2021 on Wednesday on looming demand concerns fueled by an escalating tariff war between the U.S. and China, the world's two biggest economies, and a rising supply outlook. Brent futures dropped $1.39 to $61.43 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures fell $1.50 to $58.08. Both contracts lost as much as 4% before appearing some losses. Both Brent and WTI have tumbled over the 5 sessions since U.S. President Donald Trump announced sweeping tariffs on most imports, sparking concerns a global trade war would dent economic growth and hit fuel demand. And to our discussion to shed more light on the possible impact of the new U.S. tariff on Nigerian exports of oil and gas, as Nigerian exporters may face an additional $814.8 million in cost, potentially affecting the competitiveness of their products in the U.S. market, is an oil and gas expert, Balazaka, who joins us via phone from Lagos. You're welcome to the program Business Express.
Thank you, and I greet our viewers across the globe.
Okay, well, do you see this particular 14% tariff on Nigerian goods affecting our competitiveness in the global stage?
Initially, it's going to look like that, but personally, I am happy about it. I am even happy about the global trade war. And the answers are not far-fetched. If you look at what Nigeria is going through at the moment, there is insufficiency. Charity begins at home. We have not been able to take care of the almost 230 million citizens. Even within Nigeria, there is enough market. We have not been able to satisfy the internal market in Nigeria. We've not been able to satisfy the markets within the West African sub-region. We've not even been able to satisfy the market within the continent of Africa. If US slams that tariff war on us, or that tariff, ban some of those items, what about the Asian market? What about the European market? What about the market within the continent of Africa? So for me, it's something I welcome. Is something I appreciate, because I am tired of this mentality of Nigeria being a country that depends on other continents for her products to be properly sold and for her to have economic power.
So you think that this will have a triggering effect by making us, sit up?
We will sit up. I mean, look at what is happening in the oil and gas market and the trade war. Before I was born, Nigeria was already producing crude oil and gas and selling. I am about 50 years to now, and Nigeria is still depending on other countries to sell her raw materials. Everybody knows from basic and elementary economy that when you process raw materials and you get finished goods, you add value, you make more profits, and you gain. Everybody knows that. So if this will make Nigeria to look inwards and make sure we make our refineries to become functional, whether private or our state-owned refineries, the better for us. If this trade war will now make us to behave the way other countries or nations like the US and China are behaving, so be it. If China were to be producing crude oil, I can tell you, China will not sell 1 barrel of their crude oil outside. They will process it and sell the byproducts or the distillates. If China were to be having gas, China will not sell 1 standard cubic feet of their gas. They will use their gas to generate electricity. They will use their gas to produce fertilizer. They will use their gas to produce urea.
Okay.
So it is enough. We mustn't. I will appreciate that the trade war continues so that we look internally and we think internally and become more creative and innovative.
Okay, with Nigerian exporters possibly facing an additional $814.8 million in costs, how might this impact Nigeria's trade balance and foreign exchange earnings?
Of course, when you talk about trade balance, it will look negative towards Nigeria. But I'm telling you, if you have good products, customers will look for you. You're only talking about the United States. Like I said, what about Europe? What about Asia? What about other countries or nations within the continent of Africa? What about even the West African sub-region? So it is just helping us to think out of the box. And we are even likely to make it better, sell our products at premium. We just have to be honest and tell ourselves the truth. The US is just one country. US is even a country, not a continent. So why can't we look outwards? Why can't we look at other parts of even the North America? Why can't we look at other parts of even the South America? We need to look at it from that angle and look at even the population of the US as a whole. Compare it to the entire population of the globe. So for me, it is to make Nigeria to sit up. And like I said, crude oil and gas has been discovered and was being exploited before I was born. I'm more than 50 years now, and we are still selling raw materials to import finished goods. It's just like you produce so much beans and you are selling your beans. Anytime you need akara or bean cake, you have to go to somebody that does not even produce beans and you buy from the person. Does that make any economic sense? It doesn't.
So now, are there any concerns that this might lead to somehow reduce investment or production levels in Nigeria's oil and gas sector?
The answer is simply no. Because when you look at it internally, are you having sufficiency internally? The answer is no. When you look at the West African sub-region, have you been able to satisfy the market across the West African sub-region? The answer is no. The only thing some people are likely to say is this: looking at our 2025 budget, we are likely to experience or suffer what we call deficit. But tell me, even if the price of crude oil gets to $100 per barrel, to the best of my knowledge and experience, we are always running a deficit budget. Whether this trade war exists or does not exist, Nigeria has always been running a deficit budget. Nigeria keeps borrowing. Let us look inwards. So personally, as a Nigerian, I think it's good for Nigeria. And I learned that, like all of us know, we now have a new management even for the NNPC. It will make them to look inwards.
Okay, are we likely to see a shift towards maybe doing business with other African countries? Because you talked about issue of self-sufficiency, we have not been able to achieve that, and even supplying our, neighboring countries, within African region, where we have not been able to actually supply them with enough crude oil.
That is even better. It will make us to look inwards, because I can tell you, if for any reason today we can produce enough petrol, diesel, kerosene, and we start supplying to the West African sub-region and other countries within the continent of Africa, we are going to make so much revenue. We will have economic power. That will even make us to have political power. And look at our gas, for instance. From natural gas, you will get ammonia. From ammonia, you will get urea. From urea, you will get fertilizer. Imagine if all the fertilizer being used in the West African sub-region or within the continent of Africa is coming from Nigeria. You don't need anybody to tell you that Nigeria will be very strong in terms of revenues and even in terms of political influence and economic influence.
Okay, but what happens to diversification?
Of course, that is what diversification is all about, because we have been relying on just selling our crude oil, selling our gas. So when we want to diversify now, all we are saying is we want to diversify and start selling finished products, which is better. And when you diversify, it means you look for other business heavens. So if we diversify, that means we will now start selling our petrol instead of importing petrol. We will start selling our diesel instead of importing diesel. We will start selling our cooking gas instead of buying cooking gas. We will start selling our fertilizer instead of buying fertilizer from outside. So that is what technical and positive diversification is all about.
Okay, thank you very much, Balazaka. It's a pleasure having you on the program, to share your thoughts with us. Actually, it's a good one to be able to now start focusing on ourselves and provided the needed energy supply, then from there we can just go beyond our boundaries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now let's head to commodities market, where oil suffers biggest 5-day drop since 2022. Metals plunge as trade war escalates. Let's now take a trip to the commodities market. Global economic experts warn that poorly governed institutions not only impair national competitiveness but also exposes governments to fiscal shocks. They say a robust governance structure is no longer optional but essential for proper auditing and management of government finances.
Maintaining the independence of the internal auditors will always elevate, okay, the corporate governance of every institution, whether private or public. And these are achieved in when they have built enough confidence, given the right authority, created the necessary independence, and built in relevance for the internal audit function.
It's about that commitment to do the right thing ethically. Once we're serious about development, everything else we need to do will come to us naturally. People that want to invest in us will see that we're now serious.
Play your impact to achieve organizational objective. If every organization is less profitable, by extension, the nation will be rich and will be comfortable.
The Vice President Kashim Shettima says the federal government remains committed to attracting investment to unlock the full potentials of the agricultural value chain to ensure food security, create jobs, and secure a brighter future for generations yet unborn. Mohamed Umar Ajengi reports that the Vice President stated this during the groundbreaking ceremony of a multi-billion naira agro-processing industrial hub in Kaduna.
They will create opportunities for our young people, empowering them with skills and knowledge to engage in meaningful work and contribute actively to the economy. The youth of Nigeria must not be spectators in the economy. They must be stakeholders, builders and shapers of their own futures. This SAPZ has been classified as one of the priority projects by His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR. This isn't just about bricks and mortar. It is about people. It is about the resilience of our farmers, the ingenuity of our processors and entrepreneurs, and the commitment of our government and development partners to build a future that works for everyone. What we are breaking today is not just ground. It is the foundation for a new agro-industrial processing ecosystem that will serve generations to come.
Our industries are thriving, and our state is leading Nigeria's agricultural transformation. Together, let's use this moment and turn Kaduna State into a model for agribusinesses driving economic growth.
It's expected that $1 billion of investment will be mobilized in these zones and create thousands of jobs. The success of the special agro-industrial processing zones across Nigeria will require 5 critical enablers. First, there is need for continued strong political will and commitment at the highest levels. I have no doubt that that is the case because President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has designated this as a presidential initiative.
The SAPZ program is not merely an agricultural initiative, it is a catalyst for economic growth and import substitution. As we invest in agro-processing development, we are investing in the future of our communities.
Now, Vice President Kashim Shettima also has inaugurated the board of the Nigerian Independent System Operator. This is part of government's effort to restructure and strengthen Nigeria's electricity sector in line with the Electricity Act 2023. Abdurrahman Jibrila reports that the board is tasked with overseeing the operational and market independence of the system, aimed at managing critical aspects of Nigeria's electricity supply chain that includes grid stability, system operations, power dispatch, and market coordination.
The of NISO is not just an administrative exercise, but a strategic move to transform and position the Nigerian electricity industry for efficiency and reliability. With the unbundling of TCN, NISO will now be at the heart of our power sector, facilitating seamless coordination among generation, transmission, and distribution.
The committee was urged to serve with diligence, integrity, and a deep sense of responsibility.
Major reform in our quest to transform the power sector for operational efficiency and for effective service delivery of a functional, reliable, and affordable electricity supply to our households, to our businesses, to our institutions, and to our industries, all for economic growth and national development.
Integrity, discipline, good oversight of the power industry, and by God's grace and the support and prayers of everyone, we hope to transform the Nigerian electricity supply industry.
We're expected to hit the grounds running in terms of the sector coordination, transparency in system operations, transparency in market administrations, and making sure that there's grid reliability and availability and also quality of power to the teeming populace of Nigeria.
The unbundling of TCN into both the Nigerian Independent System Operator and Transmission Service Provider became imperative, and that is what has been done. And it also, suffice to say that this actually went through a very transparent and competitive process.
With the inauguration of the board, the success of Nigerian Independent System Operator will no doubt play a crucial role in shaping the future of Nigeria's power sector. Latin currency. The cryptocurrency market has experienced a sharp sell-off following the implementation of U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs on Chinese goods. How much is the naira exchanging for the currencies? Let's see. And now let's head to global stock market, where Maria Zachary is standing by to give us up to, to bring us up to speed with how markets are shaping up this afternoon.
Well, international markets are in downward trends this afternoon. European stocks traded sharply lower, with markets struggling to maintain the positive momentum of the previous session. Looking at the figures, we have Germany's DAX at 3.74%, FTSE down 3.33%, CAC of France is at 3.69%. Asia markets fell as U.S. President's country-specific tariffs comes into effect. Chinese goods will now face a cumulative tariff rate of 104%. The Nikkei 225 of Japan dipped 31,714 or 3.93%. On the opposite, Shanghai Composite was up 1.31% or 3,186, while Hang Seng Index of Hong Kong is at 20,264 or 0.68%. Stock futures in the U.S. down sharply again on Wednesday after China announced retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods in the latest escalation of global trade tensions. The Dow is in red at 1.16%. We have S&P 500 following at 1.70%. Nasdaq Composite also down 1.31%. Africa markets, like other regions, are bearish this afternoon. South Africa JSE top 40 slipped 2.26%. We have Tunisia index at 10,959. Namibia all-share index dropped 2.44%. Ghana was down 0.03%. That's it on global market today. I am Maria Aduzaka. It's back to Musa.
Wow, Maria, I must say the markets are bleeding. Oh my God. Well, this is where we end this edition of Business Express. We value your feedback, so keep the comments, observations, and suggestions coming. Be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on the NTH channel. Business Express returns tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day.